Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's time once again to talk all things movies. Joining me, as always, is the other Real to Real talker, Paul Britton. Paul, welcome to this week's show.
I not just welcome to this week's show. You're burying the lead here, my man.
Burying the lead?
Yeah, welcome to the Sexy Potato Twitch feed. Come on.
Well, yes, there is that. I didn't want to jump right into self-promotion.
Too bad. I'm going to do it for you.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to make the decision to exclusively go live on Twitch for reasons of, it's a great
Just
platform.
reasons.
Just reasons.
There's
And,
reasons.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So if you're going to watch this live, you'll be here. But then we will also continue to post to YouTube, and you can catch us there at your leisure.
Right. We will spread our seed throughout the interwebs.
Oh my! Wow, that got weird real quick.
But to catch it live, you got to be here on Twitch.
Got to be here, absolutely. So yeah, excited to try this out, see how it goes, and frankly, at the end of the day, we're still going to talk about movies because that's what's most important.
Oh my god!
Here in this project, Paul, what an eclectic set of movies we have this week.
Yeah. It's man. By the way, I do want to say we missed you last week. Last week, for those who don't know, we discussed Tar and we discussed Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah,
and it was an absolutely scintillating conversation that I got to have with Kristen. It was just the highlight of my week. But here now, two awesome movies in addition, that would be considered Oscar contenders. Sure. In addition to a couple of other really good fun movies. It's just, we've got some stuff.
Yeah, we do. And that's the thing. We're starting to enter that season where we are going to be but coming across movies that are now award season contenders.
Yeah, it's Oscar fodder.
Exactly. Absolutely. And yet we have some interesting selections this week. So I'm excited to go through these with you. If all goes as planned, Kristen will be joining us once again a little later tonight as part of this episode. But as we get started, I got to tell you, I don't know how you feel sometimes, Paul, but do you plan your movie watching? Like, I know I'm going to watch this movie first, and then I'm going to end with this one because of what you expect the movies might. Or do you just kind of go at it as you're
like literally, like I go to my son and I say, all right, these are the movies I'm seeing in a theater. Which ones do you want to see? And then the ones that I'm streaming live, I'm watching Saturday morning and Sunday morning before anybody else is awake. That's that's how it works in my house, And then if I've got two movies to see in a theater, I am probably going to go see it Monday night on my own.
Okay.
If I don't find another window of opportunity sometime throughout the day.
Yeah.
So,
the reason I asked the question is I tend to, if I've got to go to the movie theater, then it's going to be probably one Saturday, one Sunday.
Okay.
Sometimes Monday night, depending.
Yeah.
And that's really dependent on whether Jen wants to join me because, she's even more fickle about movies than, she's more fickle than I'm not fickle about movies. But so this week I didn't put any order to him. I'm just like, I'll get to him when I can. And wow, my brain was just all over the place. And so I'm looking forward to talking about these tonight and want to say welcome to those who have joined us here on Twitch. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So as we begin, Paul, we're going to start with a movie that I know when I first saw the trailer, I was like, I'm in. This is my kind of thing.
This is the Sergio movie.
Oh, absolutely.
If there ever was one.
Yeah, no kidding. The Banshees of Inisherin, starring Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. Wow. Paul.
Yeah.
I know that our measure of movies is different. I tend to be, if we look at it as a comparison, I tend to be more generous.
Yeah, sure.
This for me, before we even get into it, was I'm just going to get right to the end. This was a perfect film.
Yeah.
For someone like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just.
This is right now in my top 5 for the year. Like we're cutting to the end. This isn't my top 5 for the year. This is absolutely my top 5 for the year right now. There's another month and a half of amazing movies coming out. So I'm not sure that it'll stay in there because it's not in my. It didn't crack my top 3. My top 3 remains Tar. It's Men, Marcel the Shell, and Tar are my top 3 right now. Banshees is 4 or 5, and this was an amazing movie.
It really was.
I feel like at some point when there's just nothing coming out, we should revisit this and do a segment on the best movies that are metaphors for war, because that's what. So this is taking place during the Irish Revolution, the first half of the century, after the British granted an Irish Free State, and the Irish were like, okay, cool, now what? And they were like, well, hey, let's fight each other. And basically they were fighting to decide, are we going to take the British at their on their face value and accept autonomous, like basically what Canada and Australia have right now, which is autonomous rule. The king still is your granddaddy, though. And or are we just split completely? And they couldn't decide, so they went to war. And while this is going on, by the way, that's background for the movie,
right?
That's going on in the background of the movie. But during this time, there's these 2 people on this tiny little island on Inisherin who used to be best friends, but all of a sudden wake up one morning and one of them decides that's not going to be the case anymore.
Yeah, and so the story itself is quite well set up right from the outset. One of the things I love about this film is it doesn't waste any time getting to the central plot of the film, and that is you have Colin Farrell's character, who is, and it's funny, you want to talk about, in my opinion, 2 mismatched people. Right. But Colin Farrell, his character, is this is my best friend, right? And so played by Brendan Gleeson, and right from the outset, within the first 5 minutes of the film, the conflict arises, and it's like, don't talk to me ever again. Brendan Gleeson's character tells Colin Farrell's character, I should probably memorize names of characters.
No, it's all right.
And what proceeds from that point is such an amazing study on human dynamics. And of course, I love talking about movies like this and talk about how much I love them without being able to spoil them, because I really want people to see this movie.
For sure.
It goes beyond the absurd. In such a wonderful way that while, and I'm just going to say this because we're not going to say how, that while gruesome remains, you almost sit there and go, well, yeah, this makes sense, because of the way in which the characters play their respective parts in terms of this conflict, which you think the movie is going to spend time exploring that, and when they kind of do, it's not at all what you might think. It's such a ride. This movie is phenomenal.
And it really goes to the extreme, and this is where the parallel to war goes. It really goes to the extreme of, what are you 2 people doing? Like, why is this one person not talking to the other anymore? And once the other one realizes, I don't want to talk to you anymore, why does he persist? Like, why? But here's the thing is that, like, so Brendan Gleeson plays Colm, and Colin plays Padraig, and I understand where Padraig's coming from, because it's like, this is his best friend, and all of a sudden it's not his best friend, and he's left with nobody basically but his sister and the town idiot. By the way, town idiot played by Barry Keogh, who amazing,
fantastic,
amazing.
But we got to mention Carrie Condon. Come on.
Carrie Condon is the sister. I mean, I could have just watched this movie if the camera just followed Carrie around, and all we got was the point of view of everything from the sister, and then everything going around her, because she's so, like, captivating and interesting.
Even of course, the characters that inhabited the pub.
Yeah, I mean, The Witch.
Oh my goodness, yes.
It's so fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's just gripping and silly and tragic and horrible, and it's everything. It's just the whole thing, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful too. The
The
cinematography
cinematography,
is
good gravy.
fucking unreal in this movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. From the opening shot.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know
yeah,
if you can recall, but
yeah,
just as it opened, I was like, "Oh, here we go." Like,
yeah,
it's a beautifully shot film.
yeah,
It's very well, the way in one of the other things that stood out to me in the way in which this movie was directed was just the up close interplay between the characters. So much was said by faces alone,
yeah,
and the director and the cinematographer did such a masterful job of
mhm,
capturing, you know, so much in the
yeah,
way of expression without words.
yeah,
This movie took its time. It developed not in a hurried way, but you also didn't feel like it got slogged down in the middle. It worked really well,
yeah,
and I can't say enough about this movie. So
yeah, yeah.
I was very pleased coming out of the theater.
Me
I
too.
almost wish I'd finished my movie watching on this one. So,
Yeah, that
but
I can see that.
yeah,
This was this was a powerhouse. This
yeah,
was everything you want in a film
yeah.
and more.
And
Yeah.
how far has Colin Farrell come?
Oh my
You know,
goodness. He
he's
has to get a nomination. I don't
seriously.
understand what's going on in the planet if he doesn't get one. This role for anybody, it would be really tough
Hmm.
because there's the isolation of the island.
Hmm.
There's the isolation from your best friend. He loves his animals. I mean,
Yes. Oh,
you just absolutely know for every second that he's there with he loves it's just so endearing.
yeah,
And you just want to give him a hug, but you also want to say, "Come on, man."
yeah.
Just
Just yeah.
yeah.
And it was such an interesting way in which we were allowed to see who he really was
Yeah.
through the eyes of everyone else. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
it's it's all of the unspoken things that aren't said to him that
Yep.
we are in on. That it's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
but it's beautiful and it's
Yeah.
it's so well played.
Yeah.
So as we begin our list of movies we're looking at tonight, as you know,
Yes.
we do a 5 taco rating system here on Real to Real Talk. A movie can get as
Yep.
many as 5 tacos. You want to throw guac on for extra?
Do
Feel
it.
free to do so.
Yeah.
Paul,
Yeah.
I'm just going to get us started because you know where I'm headed. I'm going
Yeah.
to reserve the guac.
You are interesting.
I am.
Okay.
I'm going to go 5 solid tacos, and the reason I'm holding
Yeah.
back on the guac has nothing to do with the movie, being any sort of for me myself flaw in the film.
Okay.
I just felt like this is 5 solid tacos. It didn't get extra. It
Yeah.
didn't do
It's not
anything it didn't need
flashy.
to do. Exactly.
It's not
And
flashy.
it's 5 of the best tacos you've ever had as far as this guy's concerned. This is a
Yeah.
perfect film in my
That's
opinion.
exactly where I am on it as well. Yeah, this is one that I'm going to want to watch again. Like I cannot wait for this to hit a streamer because I am absolutely watching this in the comfort of my own home
Yeah,
where I can bury my face in my pillow on certain scenes.
absolutely.
So,
Yes, very much so.
yeah.
All right. Well, from Banshees of Inisherin, we go to
Yes.
the second theater release that we attended this week, and that
Yep.
was a movie called Armageddon Time,
Yep.
a coming of age story.
Yeah.
That goodness. Strong cast. Jeremy Strong is such. I've said it almost every week for the last several months. Hey, it's that guy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so good in this film.
Anne
Anne
Hathaway is
Hathaway,
phenomenal.
fantastic. Banks Rapetta, Anthony Hopkins. Um,
And
Paul,
Jalen Webb.
yeah, the
This,
entire cast. Just
yeah.
these are two films with strong casts that really came to deliver.
Yeah, and came to literally punch me in my stomach. That's what
Yeah,
they came here with the goal of just repeatedly kick me in the nuts and punch me in my stomach, and they did it. And that's how I felt the entire movie.
yeah,
That and that's not like a criticism, that's just the reality. This is not a movie that like you are able to feel comfortable with.
right.
You're not. And it is set up so well in New York 1980, and two friends. Johnny is a young African American boy who has been held back from 6th grade, and a new 6th grade student is Paul Graff, and they become friends. They are both, slackers, or misfits, or the class clowns, however you want to call it, mischievous in nature for sure. Lacking a solid grasp on how to conform in a classroom setting. They have vision, but their vision is being stifled for completely different reasons. And for that reason alone, it's just a swift punch in the stomach every single minute that Paul is doing a drawing and somebody says, "Oh, what are you doing? Why? What?" It's just like, let the kid be, let the kid explore. And Johnny, who, lives with his grandmother, being threatened to be put into the foster care system. It's just, oh my God, this movie.
Yeah, it was. The strength of the movie lies in its ability to take you on this ride.
Yeah.
And you know that you're experiencing something you cannot deny is reality in relation to how these characters are treated and the disparities in their experience. I think that for myself, I think I've seen just one too many coming of age movies in the last 12 months. And so,
okay.
But so I don't fault it. I don't fault it from a a cinematic standpoint. It's a great film, but I found it just short of like perfect, because I was like, this is kind of dragging in some places, and it's very heavy handed.
It's not,
which is hard for me to say because of its subject matter. You know?
And I will 100% agree with you. It's not perfect. I don't know that it's trying to be.
Okay.
I'll be honest. Like I think this movie knew what it was trying to do, and it's really hard to label a movie that is just trying to literally just make you really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And say, wow, that was perfect. I just can't get there with it. But it really is effective. It's not perfect, but it's really effective.
It is. And this whole autobiographic take that James Gray, the director, takes you on,
right?
It kind of makes you wonder about sort of like, man, what was his experience? What is exactly that he went through? I mean, I think he puts a lot of it on the screen.
Right.
It's very honest. It's very genuine.
Yeah.
And in its portrayal.
For me, my biggest problem with it is that I always have a really hard time relating to kids that not even just misbehave, but like do not know how to behave, and when given choice A and choice B, always make the wrong choice.
Right.
But just because that wasn't me. And sure, I was a kid, I made wrong choices, but always making the wrong choice. I have a really hard time with that. And so to go back to your comment of it just lacked, it's not quite perfect. For me, it's not quite perfect because it really is missing, just some sense of like, these kids understand what they're doing, but do it anyway or something, you just don't get the sense that they even grasp that what they're doing is kind of wrong.
You hit the nail on the head. It doesn't have the gravity of consequence in their mind,
right?
And so it's hard to sympathize in some cases,
but
more than the other.
Yeah, and part of that is intentional, because literally what they are trying to show is, here are two kids making these same terrible decisions, but the consequences are totally
very
different for them.
Yes,
absolutely. and that's where the kick in the balls comes in for me.
Well, yeah, that's the crux of the film. That's the crux of the film. So yeah, no, and again, two films that are really going to be out there in contention. Both, I believe this
one's going to get this. I'll tell you right now, this one's getting screenplay. Like the screenplay on this one is so strong. And and we might see Anthony Hopkins get Best Supporting just because it almost feels like if he pops up in a good movie, he's getting it by default at this point. So, although I will say The Father was really fucking good.
Jeremy Strong, man, he's so underrated and so great.
That's true too.
So many ways.
Oh,
all right. Well, as we get to our ratings for Armageddon Time, Paul, I will ask you to weigh in first this time on Armageddon Time.
Yeah, I am going to go ahead, and this one I've been wavering all day. I'm going 4+ guac. Okay. Just because it's so effective in what it's trying to do. What it's trying to do is the way I feel about it, and I don't think I'm supposed to like it. So, I don't think I'm supposed to love this movie. It would be very difficult for somebody to come to me and say, yeah, I loved this movie, because I'd be like, oh, you just like feeling really bad about everything? Okay. So where are you going?
That makes sense. Well, I'm going to remove the guac and say 4 tacos. Okay. Again, it's more than just a good film. I think it'll benefit me from me. It'll benefit on a rewatch.
Yep.
As I kind of get deeper into the themes of the film, but no, it's a great movie, and I think that we should see it come awards time.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one that I think people need to see. It's got a lot to say, and it says it well. So that is Armageddon Time. You can find both Armageddon Time and Banshees of Inisherin at theaters now, and we encourage you to go because people still aren't. So
yeah.
Although I will say I was very surprised at the amount of the number of the audience in Banshees. I was actually kind of encouraged because it was, we've lost our theater that was sort of your
art kind of.
Yeah, the where you would see these kinds of films if they didn't go mainstream is gone now, and so this was on only a few screens here in town, and it's such a great film. All right. Well, we have come to a point where it is time to do our weekly segments, and it's gonna be fun. So I would like to welcome a wonderful, wonderful individual who we get to see quite often, it seems.
Yeah.
And so we welcome back to the show Kristen Smith. Kristen, thank you so much for being. I'm so sorry I missed you last week. I still feel
that's okay. We had a nice conversation.
I saw.
Did you watch it, Sergio?
I'm
curious.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Kristen, I know I sent you a private message. I'm going to say it again. That was literally the most fun I've had talking about movies. And Sergio, I love you. But just because the two movies were absolutely just needed to be not just unpackaged, but tenderly unwrapped. And
we could have gone 2 hours for it.
Yeah, easily.
Easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
We literally ended and then just spent 15 minutes listing the things that we didn't talk about that we wanted.
There's like whole characters we did not talk about.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Whole performances we didn't talk about.
Yeah. It's one of those things where when I have the rare opportunity to watch something I wasn't able to participate in, it's fun because I love what we do, and I very rarely get to watch it outside looking at it. But if I could, if I had to, if you said to me, so give us a visual picture of what it was like to watch that episode, it's like this. This was me. I was like, I'm so proud. I love these people so much. I was like, please keep going.
It
was awesome.
To.
I really thank you both. Y'all are lifesavers. So
awesome.
Well, and Kristen, we're happy to have you back. I know you're here for a particular film, but I wanted to include you in the segments piece because what the hell did I just watch? As you know, Paul brings us all kinds of glorious weirdness. So, with that said, we're going to jump right into this week's episode or segment of what the hell did I just watch? Paul, get us started. But I have a very specific question for you in a bit. So
okay. Kristen, have you ever seen Listomania or even heard of it?
I have not, but seeing at the very top that it's a Ken Russell film is all I need to know.
Okay. You mean the giant penis in the middle of the screen didn't tip you off on that either?
Well, I'm gay. I don't look for penises. Sorry.
I understand that. I'm just saying there does happen to be a giant penis right in the middle of the
Well, now that you pointed out, I was...
It's not... It's not subtle. And the one thing that this movie is not subtle. So this is first entry, like this is first ballot. What the hell did I just watch? Hall of Fame. This is possibly one of the most insane movies I've ever seen in my entire life, and I've seen some really fucked up shit. But I made copious notes on this movie, and so I'm going to read verbatim. My first note on this movie is that okay, I had to pause the movie at the 2 minute and 56 second mark. That's right, 2 minutes 56 seconds into the movie. By the way, not a single word of dialogue has been uttered in the first 3 minutes. And what we're seeing is Roger Daltrey as Franz Liszt is fucking a count's wife. The count walks in on them and immediately initiates a duel with the naked Liszt. And after getting the "dear God, look at your hog" Google eyes from the count, Liszt fashions a diaper out of basically a pillowcase and Tarzan as Tarzan, and he basically Tarzans around the room, hops around on the furniture as the count attempts to impale him with his rapier. And then all of a sudden, a trucker song kicks in, like like you would expect for it's literally a trucker song. So a trucker song kicks in with the line, the count's going to circumcise him. So it clearly rhymed with like rise in, circumcise him. Okay, let's do that. Tarzan dodges at every swing that the count makes, including one in front of a fountain in the bedroom, where in the middle of the fountain is a naked statue, and his rapier hits the nipple of the naked statue, which causes a spring of water to spring out of the nipple of the statue. Okay, and then after another miss, it hits the vagina, springing another leak. And now both streams are hitting the count in the face. So you've got fountain nipple, fountain vagina, water hitting the count in the face for the visual.
This is 3 minutes in.
Yeah, this is 3 minutes in. This is 3 minutes into the movie. Unpause the movie.
Vagina water hit him in the face.
What's that?
It probably was on a pedestal.
No, like, so it's a fountain. So like there's a huge fountain, like as big as a king size bed. There's a fountain, and in the middle of the fountain is a female statue.
But like the spring is not coming down; it's going up.
Well, no, it's like, so if I'm the lady and water's coming from my nipple, it's going.
The nipple makes sense.
And then the vagina is like springing up to like, so it's like I'm getting sprayed. Okay, I digress.
Yes.
I unpause the movie, and the still naked wife is eating a banana, like literally, like just sitting there, like, oh, I'm eating a banana. All right.
Sounds like a Ken Russell film.
Yeah. And the trucker song makes a reference to Liszt's gland that the wife just wants to handle. Again, using the word handle, like vandal. I don't know. It's a blatant rhyme thing again, like you would expect to find in a trucker song. The song ends and the first words are uttered, and it's a reference to the count's limp dick with a candle as the prop. So like the wife says something about the count, and like she's holding a candle all of a sudden, and then like when she makes a reference to his dick, she like drops the candle, and it's like, oh yeah. The naked lovers are placed in a piano. So like there's a grand piano in this bedroom. I'm like this is the first 5 minutes of the movie. The naked lovers are placed in a piano, which is then placed on a train track. And then you see a train coming towards the piano, and the train crashes into the piano, shattering everything. Roll opening credits.
I kind of want to watch this movie now.
So yeah, I mean that's wow. Your first 5 minutes of the film. Okay. The very next scene is actually funny because it's actually very similar to a scene that's in the movie Weird, which we're going to be reviewing later, which is it's Liszt is throwing a party, and like all of these like random famous composers are at the party, and just horrible racial caricatures of each other. Like Mendelssohn is played by this elderly Jewish guy. By the way, Mendelsohn died at like 45, so he never got to be old, but here he is at this party, old and Jewish. Rossini is this big fat Italian guy eating pasta. Strauss, who he corrects somebody from calling him Johann, and he says, "No, I am Levi Strauss." So there's your last.
Is this trying to be like Liszt the composer?
Yes, yeah. Liszt the composer. Yes, that's who it is. It's Liszt the composer. Who apparently was and so that's the crazy thing about this is that like I went and read his Wikipedia page, and it turns out like he was kind of like, you know, sexually out there. He
a little horn dog.
Yeah, but like, so there were aspects of this movie, like he actually in real life he actually did run off with a Contessa. Like, so like that opening scene was something that like happened in real life. Sort of like what actually happened, not anything like that, but him running off with a Contessa, yes, a countess. I mean, yes, that happened. Like, you know, there's a flashback in the movie where we first see Liszt falling in love for the first time because somebody asks him, "Oh, you can't fall in love, you just fuck everything." He's like, "No, I was in love once." And flashback to Liszt, and he's Charlie Chaplin all of a sudden, and it's like, what? And so he has like the Charlie Chaplin mustache, and it's like a flashback, and so it's like a silent film, and he's doing all these Charlie Chaplin things. It's just really weird. And then we get to Catherine the Great's hall. And it's decorated by giant dildos everywhere. And so if you know Catherine the Great, you'll understand. And this is the first chance we get to hear Roger Daltrey sing. And Sergio, if you could bring in the photo that I screenshotted for you. So this is a screenshot directly from the movie. You can see Franz Liszt with 5 lovers riding his giant penis with Catherine the Great. Although I did find out afterwards that's not actually Catherine the Great. It was Princess Caroline of Poland, but they give her a Russian accent, and so I thought it was Catherine the Great. I felt like it was a reasonable mistake. Again, but yeah, this
really looks like a Ken Russell film.
Yeah, and so there you go. And then it gets weird. And then it gets weird. Yeah, and then it gets weird because Wagner features prominently in the movie, because in real life Wagner married Liszt's daughter when he was like 60 and she was like 25. Okay, so that happened in real life. But I digress. Wagner at the start of the movie is a communist, but then he turns into a vampire and turns into a fascist. Now, if you understand anything about like the rise of fascism in Germany, his music was very prominent in fascist Germany's sort of propaganda. And Wagner himself actually, while on the one hand sort of like belittling fascists, on the other hand he also didn't have a lot of nice things to say about Jewish people, which, you know, wasn't necessarily an uncommon thing in Germany. So it's just, you know, Columbia from Rocky Horror pops in as one of Liszt's lovers. We also get Ringo Starr playing the Pope, busting in on Liszt with one of his lovers and assigning him, like, literally busting in. Like, when I say busting in, I know you're thinking, oh, he walks, like, no, literally he's like on this weird throne thing and it knocks down the wall, and like he enlists Liszt to go and defeat.
I don't want to see this now.
He has to go and defeat Wagner's attempt to make the fascist state in Germany. I have so many more notes, but I feel like I've gone on long enough. I really feel like literally maybe. I'm right here on my notes, and I can scroll, and I have like 3 or 4 more paragraphs. So, you know, at the end, like, the movie finishes with Wagner, with Liszt in heaven. He's in heaven with like his mean loves of his life. So his daughters, his, you know, and some of the loves of his life. And the pipe organ that he is playing converts into a rocket ship. and the women in his life, and he get into the rocket ship, and he saves Earth from vampire Hitler Wagner. And that's how the movie ends. So there you go. This movie is literally one of the most insane things. Like this is why we can't have everybody doing cocaine, people. This is why. There have to be
only some people.
Yeah, you can have some people
to prove your worth.
Yeah, but everybody on cocaine, no. There has to be like at most like 40% of the people on a movie set need to be on cocaine. At most, it cannot be more. There have to be limits. This is what this movie is what you get when everybody is on cocaine during the filming of a film. So there you go. I'm sorry. That was really long, but I didn't know how to explain this movie. Like it's impossible.
I mean, I think it came across pretty clearly.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty weird.
As soon as I saw the poster, I knew this was Ken Russell because of Tommy. Not just because Roger Daltrey was in that film, but because as soon as I saw the poster, I flashed back to the traumatic experience that Tommy was for me when I was taken to see it at 5 years old. Now I can appreciate it. But yeah, as soon as I saw the poster, I'm like, this has got to be Ken Russell. And sure enough, it was. And I was like, yep, there we go. So yeah, there you go. All right. Well, I guess as always, you can count on Paul to be bringing us the strangest things out there when it comes to cinema. So thank you, Paul.
Yes.
For always keeping it interesting.
Thumbs up to Listomania.
All right. Well, that
not
brings
just thumbs, but I'm sorry.
That brings us to this week's Real Alphabetical. We're gonna get back to letters N and O.
Yeah.
The letter is P. And Paul, you recommended Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And Kristen, thank you for being here. I understand. Not that I needed to understand for you being to be here. I always want you to be here.
Yeah, always.
But after watching it, I was like, oh yeah, no, we have to all three talk about this film. And so let me just begin by saying that Rare is the film that is that is captivating for me on so many levels, even though I would typically deem it as slow. Okay. This movie is paced in a way that I'm not normally fond of.
Okay.
But it needed to be. The way that this film is, just to say it's beautiful is not enough.
Oh, it's just
Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Number one, from the opening frames, the opening dialogue, and you just get sucked in to this story. And when every moment that proceeds from it is so methodically filmed and so carefully presented. There's no rushing in any of the scenes in this movie. And I, as someone who likes films that move at a certain pace, I was so immersed in this movie that when it was finally done, which don't get me started on how just like what a heart-wrenching ending.
Oh my God.
I was like, I'm glad that this film took its time, because I didn't want it to end.
Yeah.
Even though the story itself is is one of its themes is endings. And if I'm struggling for words, it's because this movie truly had an impact on me in a way that very, very few films do. And I'm so thankful that I get to hear from you guys on it, because
I want to hear Kristen. Like, go.
Yeah, I mean, it's welcome to my segment, Kristen, and and I tell me why is this film one that you? Well, no, just talk about it. I just want to hear you talk about this film. Yeah, it's a beautiful film.
Well, yeah, because I think Paul gave me a heads up that y'all were because I mentioned I wanted to talk about this.
Yes,
and Paul picked this for the segment.
Absolutely. I had this picked when you first, Sergio, when you first told me about the alphabets. Like, there were a couple movies that I knew, okay, this is what I'm using. The first one that came to mind was When We Get to Pee, we're doing Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yeah.
Because I knew you hadn't seen it.
I hadn't, no.
And I knew you had to see it. Because everybody on the planet has to see it. This movie needs to be seen by everybody. And I don't care what your feeling is of foreign language films. I don't care what your feeling is of LGBTQ plus films. I don't care what your feeling is on anything. You have to watch this movie because it's perfection.
Yeah. So good.
So Kristen.
So this movie, I saw it. It was actually like January of 2020. I saw it.
Oh wow! Okay.
It was like that was the first time like our local theater in Oak Park was like playing it. And so this was a movie that like it was on my radar. I knew about it. And it's one of the few movies I can remember where I came out of the theater just like really, I did not know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
Because I did feel a lot of things. This movie, so I will say this movie is in my top 5 all time.
Okay.
Good.
It's slowly creeped up there. Partially because yes, it is very lesbian. It is very gay. And I love that. So this is my favorite romance movie.
It is so gay.
It is so gay, but like what I will tell people though, like whether you are queer or not, it's like this movie at least it sidesteps so many of the tropes that I have become used to that lesbian period gay films have become used to, that they're just these, you know, that they're really dour, that like these are just two women that, you know, they're just not getting enough affection from theirs,
repressed, cut off.
Yeah, like like it seems like that there is a lot of, I'm not going to say timidity, but there's a lot of passiveness in it, and really, and in a way that just does not inspire confidence.
Okay.
But at least in this example, though, because a lot of that romance is also played into the themes about the roles of women and the status of women. Because, you know, this is period. This takes place, like, what is it? Like a couple hundred, like 200-300 years ago?
I think it's second half of the 19th
century, end of the 18th century.
It's the end of the 18th or the end
of
that's
how it's described in the film blurb.
Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah. So like,
all right,
to like over 200 years ago, and so like you're dealing with people who, like in the case of the painter, like it goes through about how like, you know, she picked up her father's business, even had done paintings saying that she was her father because that's the best way that her art could be seen. Talked about, like in one segment, talk about how like women painters back then weren't allowed to study the male
form,
the male form because like only men can do that. And along with the other character, and how she originally, her older sister was supposed to get married. Her older sister then passed. And so she had to leave the convent where she was super happy. She was able to listen to music, to read, to be surrounded by women, and then be forced to like be put in this position where she has to be the one who has to be engaged to someone that she's never met.
Right.
And so like part of their camaraderie is like, it's more than just like, they're just not getting affection.
Right.
It's even more almost than just that they have these massive feelings for each other. It's like a lot to do with status, and how like when you see them two together, like that's the most on equal planes they have felt with like any other person they've ever been with. Where like even when the painter's with the mother, like they still are kind of operating under the understanding that they are kind of second-class citizens a little bit, but they don't have that same dynamic when it comes to the two leads together. Like they are sort of exploring what being a woman in the world means. Like, what does love mean? What does freedom mean as a woman in the, late 18th century?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, to me, there's so much, like, thematically rich. And I haven't even talked about the fact that this is one of the most beautiful fucking movies I have ever goddamn seen.
Yeah, it's so incredible.
Like, that it's just so visually so rich.
Yeah.
Right.
And just like, and written, slow paced, but so methodical with
Right.
so much like to me, it's just like, it's just enough. It has just enough of like actions, just enough of like the different themes between like both, like when I'm talking about status, but also like there's the extra motif of the Greek story that they referenced earlier. And like, to me, it's just so beautiful. And it spoke to me, and it's just so perfect. And
yeah, it's one of those rare movies that when we talk about it's being so methodical and it's slower pacing and so forth, actually manages to take a subplot with the attendant Sophie. And it doesn't seem to, you know how sometimes, Paul, we talk about how subplots will tend to bog down a film, and we could have done without that. This was needed because it gave us so much more depth as to who these two women were. And I don't know, there was just something about when you look at the cast list of this film, and it's 4 people, and including the Countess. You just realize how much can be done with, number one, a small cast that's powerful in their performances, and number two or 3 locations within the film. The outside the beach, the room of the painter, and then portions of the
house. Yeah,
the house, right? And this what I love about this film, if I could sum it up into one sentence, is how it shows filmmaking can be effective with the most minimal trappings if you just have a good story, good acting, and sincerity behind what is being portrayed. And this film, in a weekend, this was the last one I watched. I was really glad that I did, because it separated itself from everything I've watched to prepare for this week. And it was the one that moved me the most. The final scene, this slow pan in to the or zoom in to Heloise as she's watching the performance, and how it takes its time, moving toward her reaction, was just, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I cried. I was just so moved. And after it was over, as the credits roll, I just sat there going, now what do I do with my, like, what? It was perfect. It was such it was breathtaking.
The coda in this movie is because here's the thing. The movie doesn't have to have a coda, but that's the beauty of this movie, is it gives it to you. Because it is so beautiful. And there are 2 scenes in the coda, and so by the coda I mean, so the artist has painted this portrait, and it's time for her to go, and so she has to leave, and it's really like the goodbyes are really sad. Like, that they know that they're probably never going to see each other again, but the artist, because we're introduced to the artist years later teaching an art class, that's the opening scene, and then so we're brought back to that time. We're not given a specific date how far in the future it is, but you figure it's 10, 15, 20 years in the future, and we get to see, she gets to circle back and say, look, there were 2 other times I saw her. One of those 2 times was just in a painting, and in this other portrait that she did with her daughter, her now daughter, she slips her a message in the off chance that she happens to see this portrait. It's like, it's amazing. Like, that's like so fucking cool. And then there's the final scene where they're playing Vivaldi's Summer, and which is a piece that she tried to play for her, because the only access to music that Heloise had before was just church hymnals and stuff.
Right.
And I do want to say one thing, Kristen. I'm not convinced that Heloise was happy in the convent. I think she was content. I think she had decided, I can be here because I get to hear music, and I'm kind of left alone. And I don't know that she was necessarily, because here's the thing, she was happy with the artist, and she was happy hearing this other music, like that the artist was playing for her. Like, those were happy moments. I think before that, and we don't get to see her in the convent, so we don't know, but it's not like she has glowing things to say about the convent. More like, hey, look, this is why I liked being in the convent. And it's like, okay, but you don't have to be in a convent to hear great music, and that's the reality. The other thing I want to mention is, can we just get these two actors who just ooze chemistry with each other to just remake every single like romantic movie that's ever been made? Like, I just want to see them make a version of Pride and Prejudice. I want to see them make a version of When Harry Met Sally. I want to see them make a version of just any movie where two people fall in love. I want these two to just show up and remake it, because you cannot find two people with better chemistry with each other than these two. It is impossible. That Portrait of the Lady on Fire, these two were just absolutely on fire on screen, even in the quiet moments. Just every single moment when they're looking at each other, every look is meaningful. Every not look is meaningful. Every square centimeter of the film and where everything is framed is meaningful. It is such a rich movie. It really is. It is such a rich movie.
And I'm also like, this falls into line. I think I had mentioned it when we were talking about Tar, that I think it's just so fascinating watching someone do a job or do some sort of art form that I don't like personally do. So like you are having sequences where you're watching like the process of
painting a portrait,
and her doing all these different layers, like from the very beginning, when it's just like little globs of paint that she is just continuously laying over each other. Like to me, on top of everything that I've mentioned, like watching someone just like make a painting is just so relaxing and so fascinating to watch as someone who is like also in a visual medium, but in completely different way.
Sure. Yeah. Now this was definitely a beautiful film. It's one of those that, again, it's not typically my choice of film, but when I explore it and find it, it's however I do. It's one of those that just, I mean, I'm glad it seems so simple to say it, but I'm just glad I saw it, because it is such a rewarding experience from top to bottom. So fantastic. So Kristen, any last thoughts, Kristen, on the film before we land the plane on Real Alphabetical this week?
Can I give one really quick?
Sure.
One of my, to kind of also give you an idea, at least from like a lesbian perspective, like I had a lesbian friend I recommended this to, and she told me though that this affected them so much that they couldn't get through the movie because they started making out during it. Like there was something about this movie. They were like, yeah, we got halfway through and then we just started making out and then we had to start it over. And then we tried again and then we started making out again. And
I can see that.
Yeah.
Like I said, these two are
it
just
makes my heart like grow like 10 times its size. Just like watching these two people find each other.
Yeah.
So like I can understand that like if you're watching with someone, you're just like you're just feeling like so many things.
It's a moving film. It's a very moving film, and it so powerful, so powerful. All right. Well, that is this week's Real Alphabetical. Kristen, thank you so much for stopping in yet again. We always look forward to having you on the show. I don't know if you want to hang out for the last couple of movies, but you're welcome to if you'd like. So we are going to.
I do need to go. So
gotcha. Okay.
Thank
all
you so
right,
much
Kristen.
for having
thank
me.
you so much.
Yay.
Have a good night, Kristen Smith. Everybody.
Bye.
Fantastic. Bye. All right. So, a couple more things before we land the plane on this episode. We're going to do a couple of real quick reviews.
Yeah.
Enola Holmes 2 is where we'll start. Paul, not as interesting as the first one.
Okay. Sure.
I mean, I don't have a lot to say about this film other than it did what it wanted to do. It told a very cute story.
Yes.
I don't like cute's not the right word. It was a good story. It's another one. It's another one of those moments where Netflix tells us a story through film, and you're like, okay, cool.
Yep.
All right.
Look, but here's the reality. Reality one. Millie Bobby Brown is really good in this role.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I will, if they make a third, and they definitely set it up to make a third.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm 100% in. So that's the thing one. Thing two, it is enough. It's enough.
Yes.
It does not excel in anything that it tries to do.
No.
But it absolutely accomplishes enough to be. It is as entertaining as hell. Like it's just, it's not quite on the level of the Sherlock Holmes movies that Robert Downey Jr. did.
Oh,
but it's not trying to be.
Right, exactly.
It's trying to be the Netflix version of those movies.
Right.
Which is exactly what it is. And it's great. I not great, but it's perfect for what it is.
It's good for what it's trying to do. Yeah. At the end of the day, I was about 20 minutes into the movie, this one, and I thought, I guess it speaks to how I'm feeling already that I can't really recall the plot line of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Like it, and again, we've had several movies like this that we've reviewed this year, probably over the course of doing the show, where it's like, it was good. All right. Yeah, but it doesn't leave you with much more. This is not a movie that's going to make you think. It's not going to put you into a profound mind space.
No,
but it was fun. It was fun to watch. I think Millie Bobby Brown continues to grow, and her acting chops are without a doubt. Helena Bonham Carter has fun with her role.
Super fun.
Henry Cavill,
they didn't give him anything to do in this.
There was nothing. Yeah, exactly.
The first one they used him far better. Like they definitely just didn't know what to do with him.
Exactly. And maybe that's because we want to focus on the main character. But all in all, supporting cast, a lot of fun. I mean, this for me, I'm just gonna say it is straight up 3 very good tacos.
Yeah.
Watch the film. It's fun. It's there.
Yeah.
Check it out.
And that's exactly what it is. It's it is the perfect 3 taco movie.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting. It is 100% 3 tacos from a place that you've been to, even though, the place you went to is the one, in your hometown, but now you're all the way across the other side of the country. It tastes the 3 tacos. It's what you're getting, and they're good, and enjoy them.
And it delivers. And so, absolutely. So 3 tacos for Enola Holmes 2. Yeah. I almost hate that we're doing this last one on a real quick review. So if ever we decide we want to revisit it, we will, because the movie Weird, the story, or the Al Yankovic story, God, there's so much to unpack. I almost want to say, hey, can we move this to next week? Because there's a lot to talk about here.
Well, we have to go back and do N and O. We totally skipped N and O.
Yeah, I know. We will. I'm gonna make an executive decision. Let's. I'd like to spend some time on this film next week.
Okay. So are we literally saying we've seen this? You need to go see it, and then come do homework and come back, and we'll talk about it. Is that what we're saying?
We've seen it. You and I have seen it. Yeah. We need people to see it. But
go watch this movie.
I want to do. This is going to be weird, but hey. My show.
It's weird.
I do want us to give our ratings.
Okay.
But what I want to unpack in more detail, if we have time next week, which we'll make time, we'll count it forever. The acting, but the storytelling, for goodness sake. This is a movie that is so telegraphed.
Yeah.
But in that lies its success.
Yeah. The first 40 minutes of this movie, and we won't go too far, but the first 40 minutes of this movie are up there with the funniest first 40 minutes
oh my
in a movie.
Jen and I were beside ourselves laughing at just the absurdity of this
This
film.
movie is so dumb. All right,
but in the best of ways.
Go ahead and give your rating, and then we'll come back and expand.
I don't care what anybody says. This is a 4+ guac, man.
Okay,
I'm not going to put a 5 on it because it's
not
silly.
5. It's not.
It's not a 5.
Yeah.
But there is something about this film, and this is why I say I let's make time for it next week to give it its just due. The acting is strong. The writing is hilarious.
The writing is perfect.
Yes. The music, and I don't want to short shrift the final song. And so that's why I want to spend time on this, because I want to give people the opportunity. If you haven't seen this movie yet, go see it.
And then come back
for
and
a more
detailed
conversation, because I'm going to land on 4+.
Yeah,
Paul,
I'm
what
gonna.
About you?
And well, you could have just kept it up there.
Okay.
I'm glad you did that, because I was going to give it 4 tacos, but since you're giving the guac, I'll go give the guac too.
Okay.
Because that's really where my heart is. You got to know, like, I have been buying Weird Al Yankovic albums since the very first one came out.
Yeah.
I literally would sit on a rug in my family room with a little tape deck thing this big and just put Weird Al tapes in and just listen to them over and over and over and over again while I did my homework. That's all I did. Like that was me, from, I guess 1981 or 82 on. That was Paul. That's what I was doing. So yes, 4 tacos plus guac.
Excellent. When we do revisit it next week, and Paul, we warned him. We said go watch it. There will be spoilers.
Oh, 100%.
There will be spoilers.
I do want to mention there was one more movie that I was going to do this week. And because I forgot to do it last week, I just really want to quickly mention Till, which was the story of Emmett Till. Yes. It's out in theaters. This is the importance of understanding American history. Like this was the first story that I learned about what the civil rights movement was all about, why the civil rights movement was so important for my dad. Like my dad, sat me down and explained Emmett Till to me, and then and what happened, and it was like, look, this is what happened, and it's shocking, and it's captivating, and it's heartbreaking. And the reality is that it's more prescient today than it's ever been. And the courage that Emmett Till's mother showed, Mamie Till, in having her son's disfigured picture put on display is so profound, and is exactly what's needed today in light of of school violence. Like a parent just needs to be like, look, here's a picture of my kid that had his head blown off by an AK-47 because shitheads run around the country saying we need AK-47s. No, we don't. Just as much as shitheads felt like black kids couldn't say hi to a woman, it's just this movie is a phenomenal movie, and I hope people go see it. That's it.
No, I'm glad you made sure to include that, because it is a very important film. So, and we're going to talk about them all. That's what we're here for. So thank you for that. Wakanda Forever, Paul.
I'm looking forward to next week. Woo!
We're going to finally see if movies are back.
Getting my IMAX pants on, it.
There you go. Absolutely. Well, we look forward to that and so much more. Want to say one more time thank you to Kristen Smith for making time to appear with us this week as well. And we look forward to any time that she gets a chance to visit.
Show.
So thanks for hanging out, guys. We appreciate you being with us here on Twitch. We look forward to streaming here exclusively live week to week, but we'll also be posting our episodes on YouTube. So make sure you click and subscribe on our YouTube channel, Real to Real Talk, and also click the notification bell so you can be notified as soon as the episode posts. So Thank you again for being here. Paul, thank you as always for what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
And don't forget, as we always say, you're awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it. We will see you next time.